Trump has claimed that Iran has been defeated and its leadership having been decimated. However, this seems to be an appeal that he seems to be now making to China, to other countries as well, to secure the Strait of Hormuz, to police the Strait of Hormuz, because he wants the other countries to send their warships to the war zone to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. However, his appeal, has brought either muted response or no commitment coming in from multiple countries. Australia, in a way, has also denied, saying that they won't be sending their navy to the Strait of Hormuz after Trump's request.
Something that we don't need, that these countries don't need. And yet for years, it's like, for years we've been maintaining and doing a great job. And now that the war is, now that they've been diminished in terms of military, their military has been greatly diminished. I think it's a good thing for other countries to come in. Now, it would have been nice, as I said to the Prime Minister of the UK, who sort of was reluctant to put his 2 aircraft carriers into harm's way. That would be 2 weeks ago. And as soon as we demolished, essentially, pretty much demolished it, we're not over yet, but pretty much we're in great shape. Let's put it that way, everybody knows. He said, we'd like to send our aircraft carriers. I said, I don't want them after we win the war. I want them before. It's not, so whether it's, whether we get support or not, but I can say this, and I said it to them, we will remember.
Well, Srinjoy, what did President Trump expect? That he would call on other countries to send their warships, and it is not their war. Why would they actually do that? You know, accompanying with his request, where he had already said that U.S. Navy would be escorting the ships that have been stranded at sea. Australia also now seems to be denying that.
First of all, this should have been worked out long before the war began. They knew, the Iranians, because the Iranians had said earlier that, look here, if the war starts, we will block the Straits of Hormuz. And the Americans knew what the Straits of Hormuz was about and what would happen if it were to be blocked. That's the first thing. Now, what was he expecting? That the Straits of Hormuz would not be blocked? Secondly, it's easy to hit a tanker. It's easy to hit a warship because its straits are so narrow. So unless you have complete control of the coast, of the coastal areas, you actually run the risk of being hit either by drones or by missiles or by shore batteries, if there are any. Now that's the second thing. Thirdly, there is a red line in America. It's widely believed that if the price of a gallon of petrol is over $4, then the political establishment is in trouble. And if the political establishment sees that the petrol prices are going to about $4 a gallon, then you begin to worry. Now, before the war, it was about $3 a gallon or a little less. Now in these 17 days, it has crept up to 3.6.
Yes.
What happens now? If it gets to 4%, it clearly
the world has been feeling the pinch, but they don't want to be a part of this war. And clearly, as far as the snub is now coming in the way for President Trump, seems to be making their very line clear when we speak of Japan and now also of Australia. Muted response that has been coming in from other countries as well. But let's talk about another angle here. Srinjoy is with us. We talk about the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran. Arakchi seems to have now accused Israel of committing ecocide. And this is after where airstrikes targeting fuel depots in also Tehran, saying that the attacks violate international law and could cause long-term environmental and health damage because of contamination of soil and groundwater. So the oil depots that seems to have been struck, and this seems to be earlier where reports suggested that the US had warned Israel not to strike internally when we speak of Iranian oil depots, but Israeli strikes on fuel depots and also petroleum logistics sites in Tehran. We saw those pictures, apocalyptic pictures that also came in of the Iranian capital, almost catastrophic. as the spilled oil ignited a river of fire and thick black smoke blanketed the city of 10 million. Now let's take a look exactly what the Iranian foreign minister says. Israel's bombings of fuel depots in Tehran violate international law and constitute to an ecocide. Residents face long-term damage to their health and well-being, and contamination of soil and groundwater could have generational impacts. Israel must be punished for its war crimes. As far as the entire area that was seen covered with soot, and this seems to be the pictures that have now been coming in, because Srinjoy, the war does have long-standing effect, especially when it comes to the people on ground. We all saw those catastrophic pictures that came in from the Iranian capital.
After the Iraqis retreated from Kuwait some years ago, some decades ago, what they did was set fire to the oil wells. Now, when that happened, the environmental damage was very serious. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort to put out those oil well fires. Now, that apart, even this time, when you bomb a city, when there are rivers of fire going down, then naturally you would expect environmental damage. Ecocide is the word that has been used. So naturally, if petrol deposits are being set on fire in whichever country, in Iran, in Dubai, in the UAE, we've just heard about the Dubai airport, in Doha, in Saudi Arabia. If you're going to hit a refinery, then naturally it will be on fire. The petroleum there would burn down. So as a result, you can see that this will lead to serious environmental problems. About that, there's no doubt. So whether it's an attack in Bahrain or the UAE or Saudi Arabia or Kuwait,
or and some of the ecological damages could be irreversible, because the environment continues to remain the silent victim of the war, and that when it comes to the incineration of these vast fuel reserves seems to have trapped the capital in Tehran, as we are looking at, under suffocating shroud of pollutants in the pictures that have been coming in of late, where oil depots that have been hit during this war. But also let's talk about the other consequences that we're looking at for the world over. One of the busiest airports in the world, that has been the Dubai airport, and for now, temporarily, it has now suspended its operations. Reports that have been coming in from the Dubai media office suggesting that there has been a drone-related incident that sparked off a fire in the very complex of the Dubai International Airport, where apparently it hit a fuel tank. Flight operations have been temporarily suspended, and this is coming in from the Dubai Civil Defense Team. They have confirmed the situation, saying that it remains under control with no spread of the fire, no injuries that have been reported, the pictures from earlier today, and they have successfully contained the fire resulting from the impact to one of the fuel tanks in the vicinity of the Dubai International Airport. No injuries that have been reported, but it has now led to the Dubai Civil Aviation Authority announcing that there has been a temporary suspension of the flights at the Dubai International Airport as a precautionary measure to ensure that there is safety of all passengers and to the staff as well. And travelers, meanwhile, have been advised to contact their respective airlines for the latest updates regarding their flights. However, they have already been told and advised. Srinjoy, multiple airlines are now, updating their advisory board, including India, as far as the impact of the West Asia war continues to remain on the passengers who are either, heading home or in a way have been stranded at the airport.
Yes, there's no doubt. Now, Dubai, as you rightly said, is one of the world's busiest airports. Now, if it's one of the world's busiest airports, then naturally the closure of that airport means no flights and everyone will be inconvenienced. So you would expect thousands and thousands of people to be inconvenienced, because Dubai, it's not about going to Dubai. That too is, of course, an issue. It's about going from Dubai to somewhere else. Now, all of those flights will now be cancelled or postponed. Now, that is very difficult for all the airlines, all the people, and thousands of people will be unfortunately affected because if one of the world's busiest airports now is closed, and with good reason, because yes, okay, the drone hit a fuel tank, it was on fire, but the fire has been brought under control. Who is to say that there won't be more drone attacks, and this time directed to the at the airport? Now, if that happens, there can be loss of life, and no one wants that, which is why Dubai Airport, one of the world's busiest airports, has been closed, temporarily at least.
Yes, because Srinjoy, there are cascading effects now, because as far as the Middle East fly zone is now concerned, that has been impacted largely, but that has in a way also led to the price hike of the ATA, which is the airline turbine fuel. And that has also been seen the impact that most of the Indian airlines carriers have also announced that there would be a steep hike in the prices of flights.
Well, that's bound to happen. Because prices of petroleum will go up, and they have gone up. We are talking about $100 a barrel. So if you're talking about $100 a barrel or more, we spoke about $104 a barrel, then very clearly someone has to pay that price. And the price of war will be high fuel prices. Aviation fuel, other petrol, diesel, all of that will be hit. Cooking gas. The point is, as of now, the dramatic effects haven't reached us.
Yeah.
And it's entirely possible that if the war goes on for a little longer, the worries would be even more. We would be more troubled by increase in prices of aviation fuel and petrol and diesel and cooking gas.
Well, as far as the effects are concerned, Srinjoy, it already seems to be showing there, because we're going to talk about as far as the airspace that has now been temporarily shut, the flights that have been temporarily shut in Dubai. There seems to be a Dubai-bound Emirates flight that seems to have now returned to India. We're talking about Kochi here in particular. And the airline, meanwhile, has also given an update on the status of the flight, Akansha.
Absolutely. In fact, we're learning that the flight operations at the Dubai International Airport, they have been suspended. And in that backdrop, we're learning that the Dubai-bound Emirates flight has returned back to Kochi following the security incident. Because I remember just a while back, Dubai Media Office had also put out a statement in which they had mentioned that there will be diversion of some flights from Dubai International Airport, and they will be diverted to other airports. And as far as Emirates is concerned, they had mentioned on their social media in a statement that all flights to and from Dubai have been suspended. Please do not go to the airport. And now we're learning in the latest that a flight that was going to Dubai from Kochi had to come back. And the reason behind this is because of some security incident. More details on this is awaited. Amita.
All right. So this was a Dubai-bound Emirates flight that has now returned to Kochi. Multiple flights that have been redirected. And as far as the airlines are concerned, whether it comes to Delhi's IGI airport and other relevant airports as well, they too have been consistently updating the passengers with advisories to check with the airline before leaving for the airport. And when it comes to Dubai, for now, one of the busiest airports that we speak of, because of a drone interception that has been reported at the airport complex, there has been a temporary suspension of the flights at the Dubai International Airport. In the meantime, when we talk about the bombing, that seems continuous, that seems relentless. Let's get you the ground situation there, and straight away going to Israel, where the Home Front Command seems to have announced some relaxation and restrictions, saying that the threat perception seems to have eased based on intel inputs. Limited activities which were earlier suspended are now being partially restored. Let's get you this ground report where my colleague Mayank has been getting you from Tel Aviv as far as in the middle of the war situation, in the middle of the war zone that we're looking at in Israel.
We are in Tel Aviv and the siren has started blowing. it is a warning for the people to get into their bunkers, to duck down, which also means that enemy has fired a missile upon this place. Now the people which follow a very important standard operating procedure by which they'll be getting into places which is going to keep them safe out of the harm, and the long distance projectiles which are being fired by the enemy will be keeping them safe. We are here in Tel Aviv, and we can easily hear the blowing siren all around us, and this is an important sign for everyone all around. And gradually, as we came here, there were lots of people have gone out of the harm's way, and they'll be now into the bunkers.
Well, speaking of Israel, there were a lot of rumors, videos, AI videos, everything that has been minutely watched, and rumors suggested that the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, is dead. Well, is he alive or dead? Well, he himself seems to have now posted latest video there where he says that I'm not dead, but definitely dying for coffee. Take a look.
מה שאלת אותי?
ראש הממשלה אומרים ברשת שאתה בכלל מת?
אני מת על קפה, אתה יודע מה? אני מת על העם שלי. איך הם מתנהגים, פנטסטי. אתה רוצה לספור את מספר אצבעות?
אתה יכול להראות לנו?
פה. פה. ראית?
יפה מאוד.
לחיים.
Well, showing all of his fingers there as well, because some videos that suggested that it was AI generated, and it apparently had 6 fingers. Netanyahu had 6 fingers in that video. Well, the clarification coming in from the Prime Minister himself. Back after a short break.